I don't want to go back to America, but you need to do something for us.
Is divorce in the cards?
It depends on him. I am at my breaking point, and Sumit needs to stand up and do something.
Jenny froze, her heart hammering like it was trying to escape her chest. As the words from Sumit's mother drifted through the quiet house, Jenny can't stay. She's not right for our culture or our future, and for a moment, it felt like the floor beneath her had vanished entirely, leaving her. Suspended in disbelief, her mind racing with questions she didn't want to ask, but couldn't stop herself from thinking, how could the people who are supposed to love and accept her decide she doesn't belong in the place she thought was home? I'm Lily, and welcome to Reality Drama Files, where we break down the raw, unfiltered moments that leave you shocked, emotional, and glued to your screen. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and drop your thoughts in the comments, because today's episode is going to stir up so much debate. You won't want to miss a single second. Jenny stepped back slowly, her eyes darting towards Sumit, who was just around the corner, unaware that she had heard every word. And for a fleeting instant, she felt a mix of anger and heartbreak, wondering if the man she trusted would finally see the weight of his family's opinions and how it crushing the person he promised to love. Because hearing rejection from your partner's parents is one thing, but hearing it whispered like a secret that should never have existed hits differently. And every heartbeat felt louder as she processed what it meant for her marriage, her place in Sumit's life, and even her own self-worth. The air felt heavier, charged with tension that made every sound, every creak in the floor, and every shadow in the hallway feel like it was conspiring against her calm, while a single thought kept repeating in her mind: will Sumit finally step up and defend her? Or will she be left to bear this, alone in front of the world, questioning everything she thought was safe? Sumit's expression shifts subtly, but he doesn't know she heard a word yet, and what happens next will change everything. Just as Jenny tried to steady her breathing, the world outside the house was about to turn her private heartbreak into a public spectacle, because one careless moment on set led to the unthinkable. The audio clips of Sumit's mother declaring that Jenny can't stay had accidentally been uploaded to a private cloud, and within hours, fans everywhere were dissecting every syllable, replaying the tension-drenched words over and over, crafting theories, memes, and fiery debates across TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram, where thousands of viewers speculated about what this meant for the couple, how Sumit would react, and whether Jenny had any choice in the matter. The realization hit Jenny like a tidal wave that this wasn't just another argument, another cultural misunderstanding that could be brushed aside. This was rejection laid bare, amplified by the online world, with millions watching, judging, and questioning her worth, her place in Sumit's life, and her ability to fit into a culture that seemed increasingly hostile. While she struggled with the cruel unfairness of it all, feeling both exposed and powerless, knowing that no matter how calm she tried to appear, the whispers, posts, and videos would shape public perception in ways she couldn't control. And yet, inside, she clenched her fist, reminding herself that her voice mattered, her feelings were valid, and she wasn't going to disappear quietly. As the fan theory spread, some painting Sumit as the victim of his family, others siding firmly with Jenny, she began to understand that the tension she felt wasn't just about a clash of personalities or simple arguments, but something far deeper, a cultural weight being laid upon her shoulders. Without consent, a subtle form of exile disguised as familial concern, and she knew the moment was coming when she would have to confront this publicly, facing Sumit and his family under the watchful eye of cameras and fans alike. And the thought alone made her heart pound faster, every second, stretching as she anticipated the showdown. When Jenny finally steps onto the tell-all set, every emotion she's buried will surface in a confrontation no one watching will forget. Jenny sat rigid in her chair, the studio lights glaring down like they were inspecting every heartbeat, every twitch of her expression, as the host pressed play on the leaked audio, and immediately, the words of Sumit's mother echoed through the room, crisp, unforgiving, and sharp enough to cut through any pretense of calm. The cameras shifted angles, catching Jenny's eyes widening, her lips parting slightly, and the subtle tremor in her hands that betrayed the storm of emotions she was trying desperately to contain. While behind her, the audience gasped, some whispering to one another, some leaning forward as if their collective anticipation could somehow shield her from the reality of what she had just heard again, this time not in secret, but amplified for the world to see. And every frame captured the raw shock, the disbelief, and the dawning realization that the situation was more than just a cultural misunderstanding. It was a direct attack on her place in Sumit's life, and perhaps even on her identity within the marriage. As the audio ended, the silence that followed was thick, heavy, and almost unbearable, giving space for Jenny's mind to race. Was Sumit complicit, or was he truly caught between his love for her and his family's relentless expectation? Her gaze met his across the set, searching for any flicker of regret, any hint that he had noticed her pain before it became public, while fans watching online debated fiercely, dissecting every micro-expression, every hesitation in Sumit's posture, and the tension layered so densely that it felt like a physical weight pressing down on the studio floor. Sumit finally spoke, his voice attempting calm but faltering as he tried to explain that his family's words weren't entirely his own, that they came from concern for tradition and expectations. Yet the way he avoided meeting her gaze hinted at an inner conflict he wasn't ready to reveal, leaving everyone in suspense over his true feelings, and Jenny's heart remained on a knife's edge, wondering if the man she married was willing to fight for her or merely a messenger trapped in a web of familial obligation. Sumit's eyes flicker briefly with a truth he isn't saying, a secret emotion that could change everything between them. Jenny's voice cut through the studio like a spark igniting dry tinder, loud enough for everyone to hear, every word dripping with frustration and hurt, as she told Sumit and the cameras that tradition had no place in a marriage built on love, that she refused to let cultural expectations dictate her life or define her worth, and that the subtle pressure from his family felt suffocating, relentless, and utterly unfair, like she was being asked to erase herself to satisfy someone else's idea of what a wife should be. The tension in the room was almost tangible, the audience leaning forward, waiting to see if Sumit would respond or crumble, while Jenny's eyes burned with a mix of anger and vulnerability, the kind that makes viewers hold their breath and debate in real time about who is in the right and who is trapped by circumstance, because moments like this force people to reflect on the invisible weight family expectations can have on personal happiness, the slow erosion of autonomy when love is conditioned by approval, and why someone might feel compelled to fight so fiercely for their own voice, even when it risks public judgment. Online, fans immediately split into Team Jenny, empathizing with the raw courage it takes to call out emotional suffocation, and Team Sumit arguing that he was navigating a difficult cultural balance caught between loyalty to his family and his wife, and the debates raged over who should shoulder the blame or take the first step toward compromise, giving everyone watching a chance to feel the conflict as if it were their own. Just as Jenny's words seemed to hang in the air, heavy with emotional weight, Sumit finally admitted, in a tone that mixed guilt and desperation, that he had never asked his family to speak this way, that their words were their own, and that he hadn't realized the damage they were causing her. And the admission flipped the entire dynamic, leaving viewers questioning loyalties, intentions, and what would come next. The air is thick as Jenny processes his words, and what she decides to say to Sumit next could change everything. Sumit's shoulders slumped, his hands gripping the edge of the chair as if it could hold him together, and for the first time the audience saw a man torn between two worlds, love and family, each pulling him in opposite directions with a force he couldn't fully control, while Jenny sat across from him, her eyes still glistening with the remnants of tears, trying to measure whether his words carried the weight of truth or the weight of convenience. The cameras caught every flicker of his expression, every pause that betrayed hesitation, every subtle tremor in his voice, as he admitted that he had never intended to hurt her, that he was trapped in a web of cultural expectations he didn't ask for, but felt compelled to honor, and that the pressure from his family had forced him into silence when he should have spoken, and while he spoke, the psychology of his struggle was clear. The conflict between marital loyalty and ingrained duty to family can twist good intentions into harm, creating consequences that neither partner anticipates. And for Jenny, the apology sounded like a double-edged sword, sincere yet insufficient, leaving her caught between empathy for his struggle and the raw sting of betrayal she felt. Viewers could sense the friction between intention and impact, the way Sumit's genuine remorse collided with Jenny's deep hurt, making every second a delicate balancing act between reconciliation and fracture. The tension in the room escalated as Sumit's voice wavered, revealing glimpses of vulnerability rarely seen. While Jenny's silence spoke volumes, each second stretching longer as fans debated online whether understanding could outweigh emotional damage and whether love could survive when family interference felt so insurmountable. And just when it seemed the emotional storm might settle, Sumit's expression shifted again. A subtle but undeniable signal that he had something else he hadn't revealed yet. A truth poised to shake the reunion and redefine everything the audience thought they knew about their marriage. Sumit hides a revelation that could change Jenny's world forever. The moment the episode aired, the internet erupted. Every clip of Jenny's confrontation with Sumit's family replayed, clipped, and dissected, and fans immediately polarized, forming factions that seemed just as intense as the drama unfolding on screen, with Team Jenny flooding social media with messages of support, hashtags celebrating her courage, and reaction videos applauding her refusal to let cultural pressure define her, while Team Sumit argued that he was trapped in a situation far beyond his control, defending his loyalty to family and the impossible position he was placed in. And the comments sections became battlegrounds, each post layered with emotion, each debate fueled by the instinctive way viewers project themselves into the scenario, imagining what they would do if faced with similar conflict. Because the psychology behind reality TV obsession is simple, people don't just watch, they see parts of their own lives, their own struggles, and their own dilemmas reflected in these couples, making every decision, hesitation, or outburst feel personal and urgent, as though the outcome matters beyond the screen. Memes circulated within hours, twisting Jenny's expressions and Sumit's faltering words into symbols of bravery or indecision. Gifs of tears and shocked expressions went viral, and every clip sparked new layers of commentary, creating a feedback loop that magnified the emotional intensity for anyone following the story. Amidst the chaos, Jenny herself had to scroll through the reactions, seeing praise, judgment, and speculation in equal measure, and it became clear that the problem wasn't only the confrontation with Sumit or his family, it was the world watching her process hurt, the collective gaze that made every choice heavier, every word more consequential, and every heartbeat more noticeable. In private moments off camera, Jenny's mind wandered to a question she hadn't allowed herself to voice aloud yet. What if the damage was irreparable, and the divorce she feared was closer than she wanted to admit? Backstage, a conversation unfolds between Sumit and a producer that no one on set knows, a discussion that could shift everything we think we know. After the camera stopped rolling, the studio lights dimmed, but the tension didn't ease, and Jenny and Sumit found themselves alone in a corner of the backstage area, the world outside still buzzing with speculation, while inside, emotions that had been constrained for the cameras spilled freely, raw and unfiltered. Jenny's voice was quieter now, trembling, carrying the weight of everything she had held back, as she recounted how it felt to hear rejection from the people she had hoped would embrace her, while Sumit shifted uncomfortably, searching for the right words, his eyes flickering between regret, defensiveness, and desperation, trying to bridge the gap between his intentions and the impact of his family's words, knowing that nothing he said could erase what she had just endured in front of millions. Each pause stretch charged with unspoken doubts and lingering fears of losing trust, and every subtle gesture, the way she crossed her arms, the way he avoided full eye contact, the tension in their shoulders spoke volumes, a silent dialogue of hurt, love, and uncertainty. The conversation moved back and forth, alternating between high emotion and reflective moments, Jenny questioning how much of his loyalty lay with her versus his family, and Sumit trying to explain the impossible balance he was navigating, neither fully resolving the tension, but both aware that this private exchange would define the next chapter of their relationship. The air was thick with introspection, the kind that makes every heartbeat louder and every thought sharper, as Jenny considered the real possibility that words alone might not be enough to repair the rift, while Sumit grappled with how to prove that his love could survive interference he hadn't created, but was still accountable for. And just as it seemed they might find a moment of calm, Jenny's eyes hardened slightly, a hint of resolve flashing through the vulnerability, suggesting that a choice was forming, a decision that could leave both of them. And the audience stunned. Jenny's next move backstage could rewrite the story for the entire season. Even as Sumit tried to explain himself, the weight of cultural expectations hung over him like a shadow, shaping his words, his gestures, and every decision in ways that were invisible to most viewers, but crushingly real for Jenny, who felt the gap widen between intention and perception, love and duty. In many families, the voice of tradition isn't a suggestion. It's a pressure that can subtly dictate behavior, where honoring family means weighing personal happiness against the expectations handed down for generations, and Sumit found himself navigating this delicate balance, wanting to protect Jenny, to reassure her of his love, while still feeling tethered to norms that demanded loyalty to the family structure, respect for elders, and adherence to values he had never questioned until now. Jenny, meanwhile, felt increasingly unseen, her efforts to communicate overlooked, her pain brushed aside by rules she had no part in making, and every attempt she made to reach him seemed to collide with walls built not from malice but from a lifetime of cultural conditioning, leaving her frustrated, isolated, and questioning if love alone was enough to bridge the divide. Fans watching could sense the tension, the psychological push and pull, the way Sumit's protective instincts clashed with the implicit authority of family, and it sparked debates online about whether tradition should ever outweigh personal happiness, highlighting the universal struggle between honoring roots and claiming autonomy, and why moments of misunderstanding can feel so catastrophic when magnified under the public eye. The cameras may have paused, but the emotional storm was far from over, leaving both Jenny and Sumit in a delicate, volatile space where one wrong word could tip the scales toward heartbreak. Every glance, every sigh, every hesitant movement spoke volumes, a subtle countdown to a decision they both knew was inevitable, yet terrifying, because the outcome could determine whether love survives or tradition wins. Something unexpected is set to unfold in the next episode that no one sees coming. After hours of talking, pacing, and careful listening, Jenny and Sumit managed to reach a fragile understanding, a temporary truce that didn't erase the hurt, but allowed them to acknowledge each other's feelings without immediate argument. And in that space, the tension didn't vanish. It lingered, like an unspoken question hovering between them. A reminder that reconciliation isn't a single moment, but a process that requires patience, trust, and honest effort. Jenny expressed how essential it was for her to feel seen, heard, and respected, while Sumit acknowledged that navigating love across cultural lines demands constant communication, clarity, and setting boundaries that protect both partners' emotional well-being, even when family expectations loom large. And this delicate balance highlighted a lesson that resonates far beyond their personal story. Cross-cultural marriages are often a battlefield of unspoken rules and inherited obligations, and learning to negotiate without losing oneself is a skill as vital as love itself. They both knew that apologies and explanations alone couldn't dissolve the tension, that trust had to be rebuilt slowly, and that the road ahead would require mutual commitment, vulnerability, and the courage to confront uncomfortable truth, a process made even more difficult under the glare of cameras and the scrutiny of millions of fans who had already chosen sides and formed strong opinions. Online, viewers speculated endlessly, weighing every subtle gesture, every sigh, and every word for clues about whether their love could survive or if divorce was lurking just around the corner, keeping the audience invested and emotionally engaged, unable to look away from the uncertainty that framed every interaction between them. Even in this tentative calm, the stakes remained high, the emotional energy crackling with the promise that the next reunion would push both of them to their limits and reveal truths no one yet expected, leaving everyone guessing what choices would define their future. Next week's reunion is set to shatter expectations and leave fans speechless. Jenny walked away from the cameras, her steps slow, weighed down by a mixture of lingering hurt and quiet reflection, the kind that comes after being forced to confront not just a partner's choices, but the invisible chains of family expectation. While Sumit lingered behind, visibly shaken, torn, between relief that some understanding had been reached and frustration at the cultural pressures that still felt like a cage around his marriage. Their silence spoke louder than words, a complicated dance of love, regret, and longing, where every glance held questions about trust, loyalty, and whether the compromises they'd made were enough to withstand future storms. Watching them, it was impossible not to see the universal tension that defines so many cross-cultural relationships, the struggle to honor tradition while protecting personal happiness, the invisible tug-of-war between duty and desire, and the emotional cost of trying to satisfy two conflicting worlds at once, a dynamic that can leave even the strongest bonds strained under pressure. Fans following the story felt every heartbeat, every pause, every hesitant word, because the psychology of reality TV engagement relies on empathy, projection, and the emotional mirror it holds up, making viewers question what they would do, how they would react, and whether love could survive under similar scrutiny. Even as the cameras powered down, the story wasn't over. The whispers of next week's reunion, of unresolved conflicts, and of other couples entangled in their own crises hinted at drama yet to come. Keeping the audience on edge, their curiosity piqued, and their emotions raw. Jenny's reflective stance and Sumit's conflicted heart were just one chapter in a narrative that promised more revelations, more confrontations, and more emotional stakes, leaving fans invested, theorizing, and eagerly waiting for what would inevitably unfold next. The fallout from tonight's events is only the beginning, and the next episode could change everything we thought we knew about these couples.
If you buy something for 60, if somebody pay you 100, it's easy, give them 40 back. What Jenny do? She just give everything, like, okay, keep it.
Given them all the change I given to you. You haven't charged anybody.
Please handle this.
Hey!
What, you need, take out your phone, just calculate like...
No, I cannot. I already told you I don't want to deal with the money.
Chaos at Sumit's cafe hits before the day even starts. Jenny hands over coffee after coffee, smiles wide, but forgets the most basic thing, the money. Customers are walking out without paying, and nobody seems to notice. Imagine a business where the most essential part, taking cash, is collapsing in real time. That's exactly what's happening here, and the tension is electric. You can almost feel Sumit's frustration building, his shoulders tight, while Jenny stands there, completely unaware of the growing disaster. Hey, I'm Lily from Reality Drama Files, and if you love watching the most shocking, jaw-dropping moments from 90 Day Fiancé unfold, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below letting me know. Would you survive working in a business like this? Because honestly, this is chaos wrapped in a coffee cup, and we're just getting started. What's wild is how quickly things spiraled. At first, the cafe seemed like it could work. Fresh beans, students lining up, the smell of espresso pulling everyone in. But one mistake after another shows that running a cafe is more than just serving a perfect cappuccino. It's about money, timing, and coordination. Jenny's role was supposed to be simple: handle the cash, greet customers, and keep things moving. Instead, she's giving away free coffee like it's a charity drive, and the cracks are starting to show. Every tip, every note, every transaction becomes a potential disaster. The question now is, can this business survive if the person responsible for money literally cannot count? Can Sumit manage the cafe, the customers, and his wife all at once without it collapsing completely? By the end of today, one small slip could decide everything, and the viewers are about to see it unfold. The tension in the cafe isn't just about money. It's about roles, expectations, and the unspoken rules of who does what. Sumit is juggling orders, brewing drinks, and trying to keep the cafe from turning into a complete disaster, all while keeping an eye on Jenny. Every time she smiles and waves a coffee cup at a customer without asking for payment, his patience thins a little more. You can see it in the way he exhales sharply, mutters under his breath, and glances toward his father, as if pleading for backup. The in-laws are watching too. They've spent years navigating both family and business, and Jenny's missteps are like watching a foreign film with the sound off. They get the gist. But the details are infuriating. There's a quiet judgment in every glance, a barely concealed sigh when Jenny fumbles with cash or forgets an order. And yet, they're also trying to be supportive. Because this is family, and the stakes aren't just money. They're relationships, pride, and cultural expectations. Jenny, on the other hand, seems blissfully unaware of just how high the stakes are. She's smiling, chatting, learning the coffee machine, and trying to fit in. But enthusiasm only goes so far when the numbers don't add up. She's been handed a role designed to be simple, handle the front, manage cash, and keep things moving. Instead, her charm is running the cafe, not the register. Every interaction is a test of patience and nerve. One wrong move, one missed payment, and the tension spikes again. A new customer walks in, holding a handful of notes, and Jenny turns with a bright grin, ready to serve. But this time, the stakes are higher. Will she get it right? Or will the chaos strike again, right in front of everyone waiting in line? The first real wave of operational chaos hits when Jenny tries to handle a simple cash transaction. A customer hands her a 500 rupee note for 2 coffees priced at 60 and 90. Simple math, right? Somehow, it turns into a full-blown crisis. She calls Sumit from the back, asking for help, then hands the entire 500 back without subtracting the cost. The customer blinks, unsure if this is a joke or a free coffee giveaway. Sumit's jaw tightens, his hands on his hips, watching the money literally walk out the door. The problem isn't malice, it's a mismatch between responsibility and skill. This is where small failures become huge stress bombs. Each misstep triggers anxiety not just for Jenny, but for everyone watching. Her brain is overloaded, juggling new technology, currency differences, and social pressure all at once. Psychologists would call it cognitive overload, but here, it's just hilarious and painful to witness. She's capable in some areas, making espresso, engaging with customers, but the simplest task, handling money, feels insurmountable. Meanwhile, tech issues pile on. App payments are confusing, orders come in faster than anyone can process them, and the cafe doesn't even have a proper cash register yet. Every miscalculation, every dropped note, every delayed payment adds another layer of tension. Sumit is trying to manage the flow, the customers, and the growing financial disaster, while Jenny keeps smiling, hoping charm will solve what math cannot. And it's not just the numbers, it's the stakes. Every failed calculation chips away at trust, confidence, and the image of the business. The customers are enjoying the coffee, but they're witnessing chaos unfold behind the counter. Will Jenny finally manage a transaction without disaster? Or is this just the beginning of a day where small mistakes grow into major headaches? By the time the next order arrives, no one knows if it will be handled or handed away for free. What started as small missteps is now snowballing fast. Customers are starting to notice that something isn't quite right. A student orders a cappuccino, hands over the money, and waits. And waits. Jenny fumbles with the notes, muttering under her breath, calling Sumit again, and holding up the line. Receipts are half-written or missing entirely, and each interaction is a small scene of confusion. You can see the irritation building, not just from Sumit, but from everyone around. The cafe is becoming a pressure cooker. Sumit tries to stay calm, asking Jenny what the total is, showing her the notes, and trying to guide her through the process without yelling. So, 60 plus 90. How much do they owe? He asks, voice steady, but tense. The answer is 150. Simple, clear, but Jenny freezes. She hesitates, miscalculates, and suddenly the customer is starting to wonder if the coffee is free today. Every error is a question in the air. Did they charge them? Did they give back the right change? Did anyone notice? Receipts don't help. Numbers don't help. And Jenny's confidence collapses with every mistake. The in-laws' faces tighten. They exchange glances that say everything without speaking. The stakes aren't just financial, they're emotional, cultural, and relational. Sumit is torn between teaching, correcting, and managing the flow of orders. Jenny is trying, really trying, but effort doesn't cancel out the errors. The line grows, tension spikes, and the cafe atmosphere thickens with anxiety. And then, it happens. A new customer arrives with a large order and a 1,000 rupee note. Jenny beams at them, coffee in hand, unaware that this single misstep could escalate into the most public, embarrassing chaos yet. Will she handle the transaction? Or will this be the tipping point that exposes every previous mistake? The moment could change everything. And everyone is watching. Jenny steps back for a moment, wiping her hands on her apron. And you can see it. her smile faltering, shoulders slumping, eyes flicking toward the floor. She's frustrated, overwhelmed, and honestly, a little scared. The orders keep coming, the notes pile up, and every mistake feels like it's magnified 100 times in front of customers. It's not just about coffee or cash. It's about proving she belongs, keeping the peace, and not letting everyone down. And when pressure hits like this, even the smallest task can feel impossible. Sumit watches her struggle, tension etched across his face. He wants to step in, to correct, to teach, but he's also exhausted, balancing the business, the line of waiting customers, and the unspoken expectation that everything will run smoothly. His exasperation is real, but it's rooted in concern. He knows Jenny can do better if the chaos is managed, yet every misstep keeps that potential just out of reach. Psychologically, this is classic overload. Jenny's attention is scattered, her working memory stretched, and the constant interruptions prevent her from building confidence in even the simplest task. Each failed calculation becomes a mirror, reflecting her anxiety, the family's expectations, and the weight of responsibility. You can see the internal conflict. She wants to help, to succeed, to fit in. But the stress keeps pushing her in the opposite direction. And the tension isn't just about money anymore. It's about relationships, pride, and the fear of failure in front of everyone. Customers smile politely, but the atmosphere is thick, and Sumit knows it. Something bigger is coming. A misstep that won't just be a funny error, but a full-blown moment of chaos. You can feel it in the air. The question is whether the cafe, the family, and Jenny herself are ready for it. Because once it hits, there's no going back. Jenny hands a cup of coffee to a customer, smiles wide, and asks, "That'll be 90 rupees. The customer counts their money, passes it over, and waits for change. Jenny hesitates, squints at the notes, mutters something under her breath, then hands back exactly what she was given. The customer blinks. Did they just get a free coffee? Did she forget to subtract the cost? You can almost hear the collective gasp in the cafe, and Sumit's face says everything. He's equal parts horror and frustration. It's one thing to mess up in private, but in front of paying customers, every mistake becomes a scene. The line grows, people shuffle impatiently, and Jenny's charm can't make up for math that doesn't add up. She smiles, tries to laugh it off, but the stress is written all over her face. Every slip-up is a tiny explosion of embarrassment, not just for her, but for the whole family trying to keep the cafe afloat. This is where comedy and drama collide. Watching someone fumble is funny, but the stakes are real. Money, customer satisfaction, family pride. It's all on the line. And Jenny? She's trapped in the middle, trying to perform under pressure, while every failed calculation feeds into her anxiety. It's relatable in a painful way. Who hasn't frozen when the simplest task suddenly feels impossible? So, let me ask you, if you were in Jenny's shoes, what would you do? Step back and let someone else handle it? Or power through and risk another public blunder? Because right now, the tension is mounting, and the next customer approaches with a large order and a handful of notes. Will Jenny finally get it right, or is another cringe-worthy disaster about to unfold, this time in front of a full cafe and everyone watching? The moment could define the day, and nobody knows which way it will go. The cafe is alive with activity, but the energy is no longer positive. Sumit is running around, taking orders, brewing drinks, and trying to keep Jenny on track with cash. Every time she hesitates or miscalculates, his frustration grows, and you can see it ripple through the family. His father glances over, eyebrows raised, silently questioning why this basic task keeps falling apart. Even the smallest mistake now feels monumental. Jenny feels cornered. She's trying to stay composed, but the pressure is crushing. Orders are piling up. Customers are waiting, and every failed transaction becomes a spotlight on her nerves. Psychologically, this is peak stress. Coping under pressure isn't just about skill, it's about perception of control. Jenny's control is slipping, and the more she struggles, the more the stress feeds on itself. It's like a feedback loop. Mistakes increase tension, tension increases mistakes, and suddenly, even a simple order feels impossible. Sumit tries to teach without anger, guide without micromanaging, but it's clear he's near his limit. He can't cook, serve, and manage the register at the same time. The responsibility is shared, but Jenny's role is the linchpin, and the cracks are widening. The in-laws exchange quick, frustrated glances. Everyone knows that a single misstep could escalate into a full confrontation. Behaviorally, this is fascinating. When humans are exposed to constant micro-stressors, they either adapt quickly, shut down, or lash out. Jenny's trying the first two, but exhaustion is creeping in. Each interaction with a customer now carries emotional weight, not just transactional weight. And then it happens. The next order arrives with a complicated set of notes and a request for exact change. Jenny smiles, tries to focus, but something in the air hints this might be the breaking point. Will she handle it, or is the financial chaos about to explode in front of the whole cafe? Everything hits at once. The cafe is crowded, orders are flying in, and Jenny is juggling multiple payments at the same time. A customer hands her a 1,000 rupee note for 3 drinks, and suddenly, all the earlier mistakes come back to haunt her. She freezes, counts, recounts, and hesitates. Sumit leans over, trying to guide her, but the line of customers is growing impatient. The energy in the room is electric with tension, and you can practically hear the stress humming in the air. Every small failure from earlier is amplified. The free coffee incident, the forgotten change, the app payment confusion, they all converge in this single moment. Customers are watching, whispering, and politely trying not to look annoyed, while Jenny's anxiety spikes. Her hands shake slightly, the notes slip through her fingers, and for a moment, the cafe feels like it could collapse under the weight of mistakes. Sumit's frustration is visible, his jaw tight, as he balances between stepping in and letting her handle it. The in-laws exchange worried glances, recalling all the little missteps from earlier. Each one feels magnified, a reminder that running a business is more than making good coffee. It's about coordination, focus, and accountability. And here, in front of everyone, every failure is exposed. Jenny's vulnerability, Sumit's stress, and the family tension collide into one intense, uncomfortable, and captivating scene. And yet, there's a strange rhythm to it. Chaos and comedy intertwine. You can't look away, because each misstep is unpredictable. Will the cafe survive this perfect storm? Or is this the moment everything falls apart? With customers watching and stakes at their highest, the answer hangs in the balance. The pressure cooker of a day has reached its peak, and the next few seconds could change everything for Jenny, Sumit, and the cafe. The rush finally slows. Customers leave with smiles, coffee in hand, satisfied with the taste even if the service was shaky. Sumit exhales, rubbing his temples, trying to process the chaos of the day. Jenny leans against the counter, exhausted, a mix of relief and lingering anxiety on her face. The cafe survived, technically, but the tension hasn't gone anywhere. Every misstep, every forgotten note, every miscalculated change lingers in the air like an invisible weight. Behaviorally, this day shows how pressure can magnify even the smallest weaknesses. Jenny's struggles weren't about laziness or carelessness, they were about cognitive overload, stress, and unfamiliar responsibilities. Sumit's frustration, on the other hand, reflects the challenge of balancing empathy with accountability. Together, the family navigates the difficult tightrope between running a business and managing personal relationships. And every misstep teaches a lesson about patience, communication, and preparation. There's a quiet moment where you can see the reflection in everyone's eyes. Jenny's vulnerability stands out, but so does her resilience. Despite embarrassment, confusion, and relentless pressure, she's still trying. Sumit's exasperation softens into strategy. He knows the cafe has potential if the right systems are put in place. But the human element can't be ignored. Even small mistakes carry emotional weight, and learning from them will be the key to survival. And yet, this is far from over. The cafe is alive, the customers are happy, but Jenny's journey is ongoing. Every order, every payment, every customer interaction is another test. And the next time you tune in, the stakes get higher, the mistakes bigger, and the drama more intense. Will Jenny finally find her footing, or will the cafe's chaos reach a breaking point? Next time, the drama gets even bigger, and you won't want to miss a second.